Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss book 21 in R.L. Stine's Goosebumps original book series, Go Eat Worms. This came out July of 94, he said with a question mark. Where's my title page? July 94. Okay, so I didn't like this book. This is the first book I have a lot of problems with, which is interesting because there's, some things throughout other stuff. We talked about The Girl Who Cried Monster. I had a lot of problems with that because the cover art didn't match the story. But otherwise, that story was a great story. Just the cover art didn't match the story. This story didn't really make sense, and it's annoying because some of the stories, they end in a cliffhanger, some of them end in what happens next, and that's fine. That's great suspenseful storytelling. But this book throughout, you're like, is he losing his mind? Is this stuff actually happening? And then it's revealed that there's someone behind the pranking of worms, right? But then there's also a gigantic worm the size of a tree that appears. And then he winds up killing a butterfly because he's now into butterflies, not worms. And then a giant butterfly appears. So, like, is he delusional? Or are these things actually happening? It's annoying because it doesn't give you clarification. So Todd Barstow is our main character, his younger sister Regina Barstow. They go to the same school. They're both in middle school, right? Todd's best friend Danny. They're all in the process of making a science fair. They're all doing their own science fair projects, right? But Regina, I think they call her Reg. Is that what the Reggie? What's the nickname that they give her? Oh, I'm losing my mind now. Regina, yes, Regina and her best friend Beth. Okay, so Regina and Beth are taking revenge on Todd for, doing pranky stuff with worms all these years, right? He's got a fish tank full of worms in the basement, soil garden and stuff, and he collects worms behind second base on their softball, kickball fields at school when it rains. So this takes place in Ohio. We get a lot of clarifications. We get first names and last names of people. We get all these things. There's another character, Todd, introduced very heavily in the beginning, and then he just fades away into nothing at the end, which is weird. It's very disjointed, this particular story. I'm confused. The other 20 have been fine, but this one was a little wonky. I gotta be honest, it was wonky. So Todd is experiencing worms everywhere. For some reason, there's worms in his hat, there's worms in his cereal, there's worms in his sandwich, there's worms in his bed. But then, he has worms attack him in the shower, but then he realizes that specifically is a dream. So then it begs to the question, what was real, what was not real? Why is the ground shaking with this gigantic worm appearing at the end, to save the baby worms, quote unquote, but then, disappear, and then Todd is done with worms at the end, and then he's now into butterflies, and he literally says to Danny, hey, watch me chloroform this butterfly so I can pin it to this wall. He literally kills things in this book. It's strange. It's strange. I understand when you study bugs and you study insects and stuff, you have to obtain specimens. I get it. But I don't know, let's call it the vegan aspect of me. It annoys me when you use an animal as a prop. And I definitely am not advocating go out and killing things, especially to display them. I find it weird. So I had this problem with You Can't Scare Me, when that main character threw a tarantula at another girl to scare her. I was like, why are you using an animal as a prop? But that kid was reprimanded, so it worked out. The teacher literally said, we don't throw animals, or whatever that was. You don't throw a tarantula at somebody. Nobody gets reprimanded in this. He's inadvertently eating worms. He literally takes a knife and he slices one in half at one point. He's rolling over worms. He talks about some of them are smushed, some of them are not smushed. And then, at the end, he's literally saying, I'm going to chloroform this butterfly. And I'm like, we're advocating killing animals in this particular book. And it's it's a butterfly. But it's an insect, and an insect is a part of the animal kingdom. So, when you're describing a 12-year-old murdering an insect for display purposes, it's strange, rather than, oh my god, a mosquito is attacking me, let me smack it, right? You're smacking a mosquito because you don't want other things to be in danger. Or when a spider is jumping at your face and you smush them, completely different when there's a spider nicely perched outside, on your deck and it's collecting the bugs that, you know, will cause you harm throughout the summer. There's differences. So for this kid to be telling his friend, hey, watch me kill this butterfly, it irks me. It irks me. I might be alone in this, but it irks me. I don't know. It was just strange, especially with the with the character of Patrick brought into this. You know, he was a rival at the science fair, right? Because he was doing a worm skyscraper and Todd was doing a worm house, and both of them lost anyway. But it was like Patrick is so handsome this and Patrick's nice eyes this, and it was focused very heavily on the aesthetics of Patrick. But then like we stopped talking about Patrick halfway through. It was strange. It was very strange. It went very quick. Thankfully, it was a cute, you know, pranky kind of middle school kind of book, but like I didn't like the insect and worm aspect of it. What subcategory of animal kingdom is a worm? A worm's not an insect, but what is it? I don't know. I'd have to look it up. I don't know, man. It was strange. I finished it in 2 days, so that was convenient. Going through our marathon, we're officially a third through, so in theory we are still going to be finished before Halloween, so long as I can continue on with 2 or 3 books a week. We read it. You know, this was a point. The cover art corresponded. There was worms in a notebook at one point. I'm totally fine with it. I would have called it Revenge of the Worms. I wouldn't call it Go Eat Worms, but brother and sister shout Go Eat Worms all the time as comeback, and he does eventually eat worms, a la Regina, convincing him that the worms are out to get him when it's really her and Beth causing the pranks. That was the big twist. But like, what's the giant insect thing doing at the end? I don't get it. There was that was not a twist. It was just a, hey, this is another thing, but we're not going to talk about it. It was strange. I don't know. Was the kid losing his mind? Are there actually giant insects? Well, there has to be actual giant insects because we know that there's that giant praying mantis book, which Terror of something something. I don't remember the name of it, but I know that it exists. So in the Goosebumps world, we know giant insects exist. But what is the purpose of them in this story when it's about a brother and sister pranking each other with worms? Strange, disjointed. On to the next review. Mucho mahalo.